to beg for mercy.
Tom Yelp didn't come to me because I want to die, kill me. He came to me to say, please help me.
Why is the current policy of not allowing assisted suicide a problem? Assisted suicide is divided into two main categories: euthanasia and physician-assisted suicide. Euthanasia is when a doctor prescribes and administers the treatment to a patient. Physician-assisted suicide is when a doctor prescribes but does not administer the treatment to a patient. The debate of whether assisted suicide should be legal or not has been around for many years, and there have been many people who feel strongly about the issue on both sides. However, there are so many more countries that don't allow this practice than those that do. Even in the United States, where there are 50 states in total, only 5 of them legalize assisted suicide. Having no legislations for assisted suicide is a problem in that it puts both patients and families through immense suffering, is clearly violating human rights, and puts heavy financial burden on families. Assisted suicide is there to relieve patients from suffering. In other words, terminally ill patients have to go through immense pain and suffering when assisted suicide is not legal. Letha is diagnosed with cancer, and she can't sleep at night because she spends her night crying in pain. It's not only the patients themselves that suffer. Their families have to suffer the emotional pain from watching their loved ones be in pain helplessly. Legalizing assisted suicide helps both parties get away from that pain. The patients don't have to feel the physical pain, and their families can feel better through simply knowing that their loved ones won't be in pain anymore.
Between suffering or being allowed to decide when enough is enough, it just, to me, makes it provides a lot of relief and comfort that okay, that option is there if and when we decide or she decides that it's time. With Dignity allows for people who are in the predicament of facing a lot of suffering, that they can decide when enough is enough.
Not allowing assisted suicide is also a clear violation of the human rights. In the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 3 explicitly states that all humans have the right to life. This means all people have the right to continue their lives and the right to not continue their lives. This also means people are free to make their own decisions in their lives. According to Michael Irwin, MPH, MD, the former medical director at the United Nations, the right to die should be a matter of personal choice. I wouldn't want to be necessarily kept alive against my own will. The government cannot just make a law that goes directly against a basic human right. As Ronald Reagan once said, the government's first duty is to protect people, not run their lives. The government cannot tell a person to keep enduring suffering and continue to live against his own will. Another reason why assisted suicide should be illegal is that the cost of keeping a terminally ill person alive is extremely expensive. According to National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization, in the United States, about 55% of the people that have been declared terminally ill serve the rest of their lives at hospices, and the estimated figures of the number of patients served at hospices has been steadily increasing. A hospice is a home for the people that don't have much days to live. Hospices provide care for these patients and try to make the rest of their lives as comfortable as possible. However, the amount of money that goes into caring for one patient is tremendous, and the patient's family has to deal with all the costs of life-sustaining machines, medications, and treatments. Based on NHPCO's research, a hospice costs, on average, over $100 per day, and as the patient gets closer to death, the cost increases exponentially. Some patients stay only a few days, but there are many that stay over a month. This puts a very heavy financial burden on the families. Even for those patients that do not go to hospices and instead stay at hospitals, they have to pay hospital costs. By not allowing assisted suicide, the government is basically forcing families into using a lot of money and the patients into feeling guilty, regretful, and extremely sorry. However, if assisted suicide were legal, then there would always be another option open for patients to choose whenever they feel like it. This reduces the guilt that the patients feel and the stress that the families feel. Assisted suicide should be legal. Not allowing this is problematic in that it puts both patients and families through needless suffering, threatens basic human rights, and puts heavy financial burden on families. There are so many people out there that live day to day in such pain that they would rather die, but the law forbids them from doing so. It is important to raise awareness and find more support for this cause. There are pro-assisted suicide organizations that you can support online, such as Exit, Dignity in Dying, Death with Dignity, and Compassion and Choices. If this sparks your interest even a little bit, please take 2 minutes and check these organizations out. Every curious click is worth something.